Hi everyone, welcome to Tuesday Talks with Ann. I'm sorry I'm 7 minutes late. I just had some major technical difficulties. But I am here and excited to be with all of you. Tonight we are going to talk about dating and how that kind of affects our mental health. So I'm going to give it a second here. I think some of our people are coming on. Let me just invite them. Yeah. All right, Sydney, I just accepted.
Hi,
Hi there. How you doing this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm sorry I had some technical difficulties.
No, don't worry.
I'm sitting here just kind of struggling, but hopefully things will work out. And I think Lacey's going to come on in just a second here.
There's four of us, right?
Yeah, there's four of us. Yes.
That's
Lacey
great.
and Lizzie are also going to join.
I love how my therapist is interviewing me on Instagram Live when I haven't been on here in nearly 6 months. So it's great.
Oh man, this is
It's
going to
nice.
let's
It's
see.
good. And there's supposed to be some other women who are joining. I was taking over for you. You were frozen.
Oh, I was frozen. Well, it's
You were
because I
frozen.
switched over to talk to Lizzie.
Yeah,
Let me just see.
it's okay.
Everybody should be coming on here.
All good.
Looks like we have quite a few people. Oh, there's Lacey. I just sent Lacey an invite.
Yeah.
And there's Huggable Horribles. I think that's Lizzie. So I just sent them invites. They should be popping on with us. There's Lacey. Hi, Lacey.
Hey, I was just
Oh,
is she frozen or is my internet crapping out over here?
it was me. It was
Got it.
me.
Sorry.
Yeah, for some reason, I mean, I have had 3 of these other ones so far in May, and they have gone swimmingly, not one glitch. Everything's been smooth, and then tonight was kind of a disaster.
It's good. We're here.
That's right, we are here. I'm not sure if Lizzie is on a computer or on her phone, because if she's on a computer, it doesn't work that way. So hopefully she's on her phone. And if she's not, I'm going to invite her again, but we can get started. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves? I think everybody knows me by now. I'm Ann Canastra, and I am from the Board of Directors of NAMI New York State. So yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, my name is Sydney Sadek. I live in New York City, and I'm an on-air fashion and lifestyle expert and the editor-in-chief of a brand new magazine out in the Hamptons called Spotlight. And I guess Anne thinks I'm sort of qualified to talk about dating, apparently. So we'll see how that goes. That's not my expertise on television, for sure.
Awesome. I'm Lacey Roy, currently a student of sociology, figuring out how people work and interact, with a minor in biology with the intent of going for neurosociology in the future. And apparently, Anne also thinks I have license to be talking about dating. Do we have?
Well, I think that you both do. I'm trying to get Lizzie on board. And again, Lizzie, if you're on your computer, you have to switch over to, oh, there you are.
Minor in biology with the intent of going for. Hello.
Hi, Lizzie, we got you. It's so good to see you.
I was so confused on how to sign in. Hi.
It's okay. It's one of those things that if you don't do every day, it's very easy to fall off of and kind of forget how to do this, right?
Right. Yes. Hello.
Hello. I'm not sure if we have a great connection.
Flagging.
You broke up just a little bit for me. Are you there?
Who are you talking to?
You.
Oh, me? Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could. It's lagging a little.
Okay. All right. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Liz. I created
It's good.
So there are these little buddies for people who are struggling and don't have advocates or anyone to talk to. They get these monsters and they bring like life back into you, like they bring color back in a world where you're seeing black and white. And they're just to hug your horribles away.
It's nice.
Awesome. Very cool.
Thank
Well,
you.
tonight we're going to talk about dating. Dating is one of those topics that I swear gets talked about in therapy almost more than any other topic right now with single people. And actually somewhat with married people, because we know that for a good, healthy marriage, you need to stay dating, right? So dating is one of those topics, 20, 30, 40 and beyond, that can also be faux pas to talk about, and people can be really uncomfortable. When I was emailing with you ladies earlier, I was kind of sharing about some of our thoughts, and Lacey, you had thrown some thoughts out there too. But to talk about the things that we get uncomfortable with, right? Like expectations, who pays for what do we wear? What's the online thing? And it's a very interesting time right now for dating, especially after the pandemic, right? Because the pandemic kind of changed how we date also. And we went to this virtual world. So I kind of want to open the floor to you all. I don't know who's comfortable maybe going out and sharing a little bit of your experience first. You guys tell me which one of you might want to share a little bit.
Whatever you want.
Okay, Sydney, you want to go
That mean
first?
me?
Yeah, sure, great.
How to dive in? No, I think the pandemic, made people take a step back in a lot of different facets of their life. People thought about their careers differently, their families, their friends, dating, and I think, at least for me, it was a way for me to kind of narrow down the people that I cared about the most. And so when I realized in my personal life I didn't really actually care about anybody, it was a good time to just focus on me. And so I think when it comes to dating, it's just as important to do you and to focus on other things in your life, because it makes you a more well-rounded person and someone who can actually be ready for a relationship. I think a lot of people assume when you look on social media that so many people have had so many serious relationships or have, are totally confident when it comes to dating, and that's not necessarily true for all people. And so for me, it was never really like the primary focus at all. I was always traveling and working, and I never really invested my life into someone else, consistently. So I was kind of the single girl out of everybody for a long time. I'm with someone now who I'm very happy with and who's my boyfriend, but I just think, it's okay to not have your person at some point in life. And as women, I think there's this expectation a lot of times that it has to be right now, and not necessarily with the right person. It's just about the need for instantaneous gratification. And that's not always how it works. So that's what I've noticed when it comes to dating with the people around me and a little bit of my experience. But, when it's your time, it's your time.
I agree with the idea that you not having your person at some point is okay. That was a really big one for me, was intentionally not having a person or looking for them and taking that time to focus back on my value and how I perceived it. Because I feel like a lot of, especially women, I think being raised in the church maybe has something to do with it. That's like, it's our value. We're as valuable as someone else perceives us to be, and like, oh, complete me and be my better half. And no, like, you need to be a whole person on your own and have your own person and boundaries and be with someone at the same time. So to figure out who you are and what you want, and to take a step back and figure out your own value is huge, to be able to have a relationship that's actually a relationship.
Yeah, I was looking up some facts about dating before we kind of came together this evening. And it talked about men, and the reason that men tend to be single has more to do with their looks, their height, and their self-confidence. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So what are we talking about women? And for women, it said because they can't find someone above their station, because women look for people above their station. And I thought, how interesting, because my perception of the dating reality is very much that both sexes feel it's about looks. It's about all of those things, right? Like that first impression, and there's all that pressure to put something out there that's beautiful and amazing and brilliant and whatever. But when I looked up research, it was like, no, it was actually much more superficial for men than for women. And it said women tend to look for men who are above them, and especially right now with more and more women being successful and finding their careers and these things before they find a relationship, it's getting harder and harder for them to find a partner who's at least where they're at success-wise or above them. And I thought that
I
was
believe
really
that.
interesting. Yeah.
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 Women are so much more in positions of power today. And it can also be super threatening to a lot of guys too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To find someone who is okay with being a strong woman is not the easiest of things.
Yeah.
I think that's the bigger piece of it. Because at first when you were saying that, Anna, like, is it really about money and like trying to advance? I'm like, no, this isn't 1832 Bridgertons over here trying to save the family, whatever.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something with that, being a bold and assertive woman to be in those higher positions in a career or work or studies.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of guys really do handle that well. And
They don't.
if a woman is strong enough to hold those boundaries and not cow to it, that can create a lot of issues. I think you're right. So if you look for someone above our station, the assumption is that they're okay with a woman in a higher station as well. But I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that really has anything to do with their confidence.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Lacey, you want to share a little bit about your story and your experiences with dating for us?
Oh my God. It's a rocky road. We can kind of leave it at that. I've been married twice. The bulk of my dating has been as a single mom. Is I have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, and both marriages were very, very short. But I didn't hook up with a trauma therapist to figure out how to have a healthy relationship. So all I knew was different types of abuse and couldn't figure out why the heck I was attracting the same type of person, or how I getting myself in this. Did I not learn from the first time, fifth time, whatever? And so I would say the past 2 years, my timeline's all wonky, has been amazing. And I've been with my boyfriend now for a little over a year. And not saying it's perfect, but there's definitely this weird, amazing alternate universe that is a healthy relationship where it doesn't have to be perfect, and we can argue and have different beliefs in certain things and love it. Like, that's who he is. I like that he has individual thoughts and opinions.
Yeah. So, okay. So you said you dated as a single parent. Can you speak a little bit about that and what that's like to date as a single parent? Because I don't think that we talk about that.
No,
I don't think that that's a mainstream thing that people are out there saying, like, oh, I'm dating and I'm a single parent. Like, more so, I think people hide it more than anything. And like, I want to be safe with this person before I even tell them other parts of me, right?
yeah, there's a whole bunch of very subjective, strong opinions on how to manage it. And what's funny is I mean, I was stepped away from the church and I've spent a lot of time and money to deprogram from it. But because I was raised so strict, I didn't start dating till I was 17, but I had my first kiddo at 20. So I've spent way more time dating as a single parent. I'm like, I don't know how you wouldn't do it this way. And trying to figure out, like, okay, at what point do you like introduce everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't get along, the kids don't like them, whatever. And I think there's that, especially how you parent, trying to commingle parenting styles and making sure if I'm having an issue with my love, that's very separate from the kids. And he has kids as well. It's just a very interesting dynamic of, okay, I have certain emotions when it comes to my kids. Do I have the same emotions when one of his kiddos does the same thing, and kind of being able to explore all that, but letting him explore the same way without jumping down his throat. I think it takes
Yeah, that
us.
sounds like a different level of patience and understanding.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm a very fair one to be asking about this, because he has more patience. It's so humbling how much patience he has. And then I'm a sociology major. That's like all I do is study how people interact. So even in my own relationships, I'm constantly taking a step backwards, being, am I weird, or is this how it is? And why is it like this? And I think that as a different dimension, because we're always talking about, like, we just create this neutral space to take a step back and say, hey, I noticed this. What do you think about that? What did you feel? What were your thoughts and stuff like that?
Yeah. I like that. I appreciate those things too. And I think that creating a neutral space with any kind of blending of families is really probably a key ingredient, right? And I think that's an interesting thing to throw at all of you too. When do you introduce someone to your families? When you're dating? When do you feel like it's time?
You just know. It's instinctual. Like when that person starts becoming part of the conversation, I feel like with your family, and they start hearing about them and they're curious, and you think that there's potential for longevity. And I think also when you're officially in a relationship, I'm very protective over, letting someone into my family. And I would hope that the person I'm dating is protective of their family too. And I don't think it's something that you just want to do with anyone. You want to filter that and make sure that you take it seriously.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think there's a balance. Yeah, definitely take it seriously, as far as I'm not bringing a parade home or to the kids or to my parents or whomever. Really, it's like my best friends. But at the same time, it's not wanting to wait too long in case there's something I'm not seeing, or it's really important to me. I am protective of my family, that everyone gets along and kind of flows. They don't have to be best friends or anything, but I don't want to sit there and triangulate myself and have two people hate each other that are really important to me either.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that blend. Yeah, I agree. It's instinctual. I think it's just one of those, it's time type of moments.
Yeah. Lizzie, what do you think?
About introducing the partner to the parents, or just relationships in general?
Well, either or. You haven't shared your story yet. If you want to share your story, we'd love to hear it.
Okay. Well, dating for me has always been kind of rough because I have bipolar disorder. So when I would find that person that I want to like get close to, I never had really good experiences. Like I've had an abusive boyfriend who pushed my buttons to the point where I would just have meltdowns and just self-harm and just all this stuff. And I mean, now ever since the pandemic, actually, I now have my current boyfriend, who's actually very kind and very, very sweet and very understanding. Like he's a keeper, because he he doesn't judge me. He's seen me through my meltdowns, and unlike previous, like I've had previous relationships where they couldn't handle it. I would scare them. It would be too scary for them. So I think there's like a maturity level that he has that the past ones never had. And I don't know. It's been hard, but I don't know. I found someone that actually is understood that it's going well, and it's been not easy, but it's a little challenging, but it's good.
So Lizzie, it's very brave of you to share about mental health and to be, on Instagram Live and talking about your relationship and bipolar disorder. I'm curious about that. If you can share a little bit more, how do you share with someone you're dating that piece of you or something so sensitive like that? Like how do you go about that road?
Well, as I got older, it became easier because I was diagnosed when I was 17. So my relationships before that, I had no idea. So I thought it was always me, and I thought I was just paranoid. But as I got older, I would get to know the person first, and then I would kind of slowly let them know that, oh, I have this, but my disorder does not define who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the same time, you got to educate the other person to know that there are certain triggers and there are certain things that just are a little more it's just it's hard to explain, but like I don't know. I I don't know. It's hard to explain.
No, that's okay. I think you're doing a great job explaining it. And I do think it's a difficult thing to do. It's really brave. Sometimes I share with people, I read AJ Lee's book a few years ago. She came to the NAMI National Conference and she wrote a book about her experience with bipolar disorder and growing up in a family with intergenerational trauma. And the very first thing she said to her boyfriend, versus now I believe they're married, but she said, like, listen, I've got bipolar disorder and my family is all jacked up. Like, this is me. Most men leave me. Like, most men leave me right away because, this is me. And he was kind of like, yeah, it's in my family too. Let's go to dinner. Like, he was just like the right person, and he accepted her for who she was.
Uh-huh.
And that was one piece of her, but it didn't define her, right? And I also have heard, Lizzie and Lacey, I've heard you both say, you've talked a little bit about abuse and trauma. And I'm wondering if we could take a few minutes and talk about that as an active part of relationships and dating for women, because I think that this is a serious part. And Lacey, you mentioned like growing out of it and having to understand yourself and heal from that before you were in a place to be in a healthy relationship. Can either of you speak a little bit more about some of that and maybe some advice that you would give to women who are in your shoes, who are maybe dating or in a relationship right now and struggling with these ideas?
Lizzie, do you want to go first?
So, I mean, I know what it's like to be in an abusive relationship, and I know that it's really hard to get out of it. So whenever I see someone struggling with that, like, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom in order to really like get yourself back up there. Luckily for me, I had a huge support system with my family and my friends, but during this time I wasn't allowed to see my friends because of my at the time boyfriend. I wasn't allowed to see any of my friends. It was hard to see my family. It was just a really hard relationship to get out of. And what actually ended the relationship I had to get a restraining order, but that's not what ended it. The last thing that he did, he pushed me to the fact where I ended up overdosing and ended up in a hospital. And then my mom and my best friend came to visit me when I was in one of the psychiatric hospitals. And on the phone, that's where I ended it, because that was just like the breaking point. it was not good. So it sucks. It's really hard. It's really hard, especially if you're the person who's being abused, because you feel like you're all alone, and you really are in that situation. It's rough, but I just hope for the best for like people who are in those situations. I just don't want them to have to go through that, and it's sad. That's why we all need to, like, support each other, and just if you see like a red flag or something, you gotta tell someone close to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Lacey, what do you think?
I think it's really important to talk about different types of abuse, because I think it's very easy to, well, he didn't hit me, or like he only called me this or whatever, and kind of dismiss it and put it under the rug without realizing what abuse actually is, whether it's financial abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, all of it, one of it, whatever. Um, I think everyone has such a different story, and honoring our own, I believe, is also super important, because it's easy to feel dumb, and like, I think the worst question people can ask is how did you stay, or how did it get that bad?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
and I understand it's a curious question for most people, because it's like, wouldn't you just leave when it gets to like this? And it's really hard to convey that it's not a typical situation, and they know the type of personality and the type of family to come from. It's a perfect storm, really. So where someone else might have a boundary and say, we're done, before it even gets close to that place, for someone who was raised certain ways, I didn't know it was abuse, because it, like, as dumb as it sounds, or trite as it sounds, I deserved it. Or if I was just better, it would be different. I just got to try harder. I was also raised where my value was not internal, it was external, which just feeds into the cycle anyway. And then to leave is not just emotional. In fact, I think that's the easy part. We get to a point where we can't take it anymore, but it's money. How do you hire an attorney? Where do you live? What do you do? It's kids. How do I take care of them? What if he fights me? It's society, or starting over. A lot of people say, oh, if something happened to you and David, you'd be fine because you've started over so many times. And actually, Dave and I were just talking about this last night, because I had a super intense trauma therapy session. It's like, I don't think people understand the risk it feels, because I don't know what healthy is. And so I know what abuse is, and I won't stand for that. But all this other stuff is so uncomfortable, because I have no idea what's going on. There's no format or formula, or like, oh yeah, this feels loving. It's completely relearning things. And so to be with someone who's a trauma survivor, I think takes a patience and an understanding, but you also have to do your own work and get that trauma therapist, because looking for red flags is 10% of it. If you don't know what green flags are either, you won't know what to do with them.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice too. And Lacey, I appreciate what you're saying, and I think I guess I have two thoughts. The first, power control. The isolating the friends and family. And Lizzie, I heard you say, not being able to see your friends and family, getting isolated from them. Those are definitely red flags, right? And sometimes people don't even realize that that's happening, right? As they start to drift away from relationships before that were really healthy. So I think that that's great to share. Lacey, with some of what you're saying,
it's really brave of you to be so raw and so honest right now. And I appreciate that you're like really sharing how you've healed to be able to even figure out what a healthy relationship is, right? I joke sometimes in my therapy with clients about the first things to ask someone on a date. And the first thing is, what is your therapist's name? And if they like BS you and like don't have a therapist, like out the door, like just have a therapist. Everybody should have a therapist. And the second question is usually like, what's your credit score? And maybe that sounds really vain, but I think that's where I'm at in my life. Like my 40s has taught me that, because if I were to date again, and I joke with my husband quite a bit about this, like that is exactly what I would ask. Like, what is your therapist's name and what's your credit score? Because I'm not going below probably a 750. Like I've worked too hard, you know? And I know that that's vanity, and I really am kidding. So please, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But I also, I guess I want to lighten the mood here. So Sydney and Lacey and Lizzie, tell me the things that if you were to date today, what do you really want in a partner? Like, what are you looking for? Like the real goods. If there are men that watch this, you know, women's mental health, or if there's other women sitting there, they're going to say, yes, girl, that's exactly what I want. Like what I just said. I want to know your therapist's name and I want to know your credit score.
I don't think it's good to have a list of things that you're necessarily looking for. I think when you start having a checklist and you're kind of creating this boundary that really shouldn't exist. I think it's good to have similar values and, you know, lifestyle desires and things like that. But I see my girlfriends who just keep these lists and they want something so specific, and that's just not reality. Like no one's perfect. I think it's just about finding the person who's going to love every inch of you and even the imperfections. But I think for me, I always have valued kindness, honesty, ambition. I definitely couldn't be with someone who doesn't have as ambitious of a career path as I have. Someone who's, you know, family oriented and just makes me laugh. Like those are always the things, but you know, those are just, I don't even think those were things that I would think about, but retrospectively now I know I like. And so I think it's okay to not know exactly, you know, those specific little things, but yeah, those that's what I would say.
Okay. Lizzie, what do you think? What are things that you're looking for out there in the dating world?
Well, I don't know if this is going to be me talking about my boyfriend or not, but I like having someone who's kind, a good sense of humor, who's, like I said, understanding, and not judgmental, doesn't, you know, is accepting of the fact that I have this, that, and it doesn't hurt to have some money. That doesn't hurt, especially now that I'm getting older. I want to have a house and a family, so working on that right now. But other than that, mainly I just like someone who's really, really kind, and I don't know, goes out like just, I don't know, is proud to be with me. And
I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I found that though. So
good.
Yeah.
Same.
So Lacey, what about you? What do you think you're looking for?
So I was, and I'm having a complete brain blank as to your name down there. I'm like, her name is not Blondie. Do not call her Blondie.
Oh, Sydney. You can call me Blondie. That's fine.
Everyone calls me.
Don't worry.
So it's like, oh, just.
Yeah, it's all right. I've been called worse. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, we're strong women, right? Of course we have.
Totally. It's all good.
Hold up my journal because I was like trying to not jump out of my seat, and I'm like, I don't think it's a good idea to have a list because I'm the same way. All my friends are like this height and this color eyes and like do. Uh, David and I, my love, have talked about some of his past dates because they're really funny and whatever. And he walked in apparently, and like height was a really big thing for this woman. I was like, I can't even imagine. It was hard for me to identify with any piece of that story. But I remember when I hired my trauma therapist saying, I don't want to lock myself in an ivory tower. I know I'm here to be loved and to love. And she was like, oh, you have to write a list of how you want to feel in a relationship. And that, I think, is, I was looking more for those feelings and not like a make me happy type, but like I want to be cherished and appreciated. I want to have core values that are aligned. But more than anything, I want a partner. And like Sydney was saying, to be a true partner, though, they have to have ambition that's comparable to mine and the energy and playfulness, stuff like that. But it's not easy to be someone's partner, especially if it's a strong woman who's gonna burn the world down.
I talk about this a lot with my husband too, and I talk about it in therapy with my couples and within relationships. But I actually think one of the biggest lies that we've ever been sold is that a partnership is 50-50. I just don't believe in that.
Why is that a lie?
Well, I think
I'm going to
that
challenge you. Why?
all right, I'll take it. I think relationships are a constant balance and rebalance, just like a teeter-totter. Okay.
Right.
So some days you're going to be up here at 100 and your partner might crash and hit 0. And that's when you rebalance them. And so you're constantly rebalancing. And it's very rare that both people are ever at true 50-50. Oftentimes one is higher than the other.
But I think that means that 50-50 is like they're giving, it's 50-50 of the level of like devotion. Not necessarily that they're always going to be 50. Yeah.
Coming to the table with a sense of equality and respect, absolutely.
Right. That's
but with
what
a
I think.
Relationship, we are not good as a society at truly giving of ourselves all the time. And I think we know how to take care of ourselves. We're probably not very good at it in relationships then, because something is going to get neglected, right? And that's why it's good to have a partner who takes care of you and who you want to also take care of, right? So this is on your long days when you're rocking it and whatever you're into and you're just having this great day, they're going to celebrate with you. They don't need to take your limelight. They don't need to do anything but stand right behind you and be like, I've got you. Like, I support you and I'm right behind you, right? And it's the same on their good days. And I laugh about a partner with the same ambition because my husband and I don't have the same ambitions at all. My husband, if he could, and we've talked about it many times, you know, he would be a stay-at-home dad 100% if he could. And that's because my husband adores being a dad, being with the kids, doing everything for them. And I adore work. I adore being out there and doing different things and moving and shaking and, you know, all those other things. And he likes supporting me. And I mean, he really probably could at this point stay home with our kids if we really wanted him to, but now they're in school and older but it's an interesting thing how we are balancing, right?
I'm challenge you on that one though, because I think ambition automatically goes towards career for a lot of people, but it sounds like your husband is just as ambitious as you are in the sense that he's going to do whatever he's doing with 100%.
Oh, for sure. His license plate on his minivan, he has a minivan by choice. For his birthday a few years ago, I was like, I'll buy you any car you want. And he was like, I want a minivan. I'm like, are you insane? You want a minivan? Who wants a minivan? And he's like, oh yeah, I want a minivan for all these kids that we have. We have 3 kids. And his license plate says Super Dad 3. Like, that's what it does, because that's what his focus in life is, right? And so I guess you're right, Lacey. His ambition is that. He likes to help coach the team. He likes to, you know, go out with the dads from dance. He likes to do all the other things. And like, you wouldn't think that a bunch of dads have thirsty Thursdays, but they do. And it's all the dance dads doing their thing. I
Yeah,
think you're right on that.
I think the ambition piece is important, though. I have dated someone who did not have ambition for life in the same intensity that I do. And that was really hard because it was, I'm going hiking, I'm going to go kayaking, I'm working till 9 o'clock these 3 nights this week, and I'm going to clean with gusto. Like everything is, I just want to soak it up. It's with someone who's like, oh, I'd rather watch a baseball game for 5 freaking hours. It's like, okay, this isn't working because I just want to like hit the tee with a baseball bat at this point. But I hear the partnership and like the 50-50, I would, again, just like jump on my seat with that one because it does change. But I think the healthiest relationships, and one thing I've enjoyed with David the most, is that just because he's had a good day doesn't mean I have to. And if I'm struggling with something, I can say, that's amazing. I do not have the bandwidth to go party and celebrate you. I'm taking a bath. I'm trying to like keep my shit together. I'll get with you tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
And he can do the same with me. And it's okay. Celebrate with a friend or myself, but I again think it's being healthy as an individual with, I don't see it as a form of rejection, and he doesn't either. And it takes a lot of, and I'm saying like I'm so good at this. I literally effed this up just like 3 days ago. So we're all learning.
It's okay. And I think that that's part of a good relationship too, as we date or get married or whatever status we want to be in, to keep learning, right? To keep about each other and about ourselves, and that whole idea of taking care of ourselves to be our best partner. That's really key, right?
Yeah, and those triggers, like, so things are moving, and I'm moving to North Carolina. He's already down there. There's talk of a ring in the future, and there's a whole bunch of things, but I didn't realize that putting my notice in to leave my place would jerk my body back to an old habit. And that really, what I didn't even see where I was bouncing back into that codependent, and like, oh, but you have to make me feel better, and you have to tell me I'm worth it, and like yuckiness. Then finally, it just kind of like hit me like a brick. So I do appreciate that 50-50 balance, not always being, I've never seen a teeter-totter with 2 kids like this before.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. Yeah. Lizzie, what are your thoughts on some of this stuff and balancing?
Well, I do like the 50-50. I feel like it should be. However, in my relationship, I feel like it's like 60-40, maybe 70-30, meaning like I feel like I don't do as much as he does. Like he does so much for me. Like make me coffee every single morning, and I wake up to coffee next to my bed. Like I feel like I don't, instead, meanwhile, here I am, I gained 40 pounds in 1 year. So tomorrow, luckily I'm picking up boxing again, but, cause I want to be the hot one in the relationship. But, no, I'm not going to lie. I like it if someone does more for me, then I could just relax, but I do try to put as much effort as I can just to show how much he cares or how much I care. Because, treat others the way you'd like to be treated, as the old saying says. So I am all about the 50-50, but in in my current relationship, I feel like I'm not putting as much as I should be.
Well,
I feel like a princess.
Right? Of constantly learning and growing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, I know we're going to end in just a couple minutes here. I wanted to get to see if any of you had a fun story to share about an app that you've tried. And I kind of want to close on this. Like, what's your most fun experience on a dating app or a situation? And I can tell you the one that I had was before I met my husband, and I've been married 17 years now, so this is a long time ago. I went out on kind of a blind date from an app with a guy from Michigan State University, and he said to me, I want to take you somewhere special. And Michigan State University is an agriculture college. A lot of people don't realize that because it's next to Lansing, which is a big city in Michigan. Like, I met him and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And I didn't really know what he was studying. And all of a sudden he took me out in these fields and I was like, oh, I'm going to get murdered here. Like, where are we going? And he took me to the cow heifer birthing barn. And we walked in and there were like hundreds of these huge cows about to give birth. And he was like, isn't this beautiful? Any of these cows could give birth any minute.
Oh
and
my.
I was, no, no, this is not beautiful. I didn't say that. I was just like, yeah, can you take me home, please? Like, this is not fair.
What were you wearing? Because
I don't even know. I was wearing something to go out. I thought I was going like dancing, like a normal date when you're 20 something, you know, like I was just like, wow. I went to the heifer birthing barn at Michigan State University for a blind date. And
It's kind of
my
romantic.
it was very romantic to him and what he wanted to do for a profession, I'm sure. Yes. Not my
Funny.
not my thing. What do you think? You guys have a story as we close it up?
I don't have any funny stories. I really don't. Like,
No?
I don't have it. No, honestly. Like, I'm really trying to think. No, honestly.
You've had good luck then.
Yeah, I feel like I always vetted people out very carefully before I went out on a date, or like I made sure I would speak with them for a good amount of time because I'm very perceptive. I can tell if I'm gonna like someone or not. I feel like with words, and so I never kind of got to the place where it was gonna be a nightmare or hysterical, you know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So I don't have a funny story, to be honest.
That's okay. You can appreciate my story, I'm sure. And I love it that
I do.
someone just wrote, I'd love to go to the birthing barn with or without a date. And nowadays, like maybe I would take my kids and it might be educational, but at that point in my life, I was not in that mind space.
Yeah.
All right, Lizzie, do you have anything, or Lacey, got any fun stories?
I got the worst date I've ever had. Well, one of the worst dating. It's terrible. Should I say it? Do I dare?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh God.
you know,
Okay. Well,
totally
this is horrible because this is a day that it was kind of a little messed up. It's kind of sad because the day that when I was I was 17, one of my ex-boyfriends had killed himself, and I found out that day. And on that day, I was supposed to go on a date, which I ended up going on because I wanted to distract myself with the fact that my ex just killed himself. So I went on this date. We went to the mall to see a movie. I paid for my own ticket. I think he paid for his own. We go into the movie theater, and out of nowhere he whips out his, and I'm just like, no, put it away, no. And then we just continue watching the movie, and then right after that he takes me to McDonald's and didn't have any money to get any food, like, except for himself. He got some nuggets, and he was like, oh, would you like some of my nuggets? I was like, no, thank you. And then we had my mom pick us up, and then she drove him home, and it was just really awkward. But
yeah, that's got to be up there with worst dates for sure. I appreciate
that was horrible.
Oh, that's too
I
funny.
can compete with that one. I think the most like, oh my God, did that just happen type of a moment was living in Atlanta. I was 19 and was out dancing one night, headed off with someone. They're like, oh, have you ever been to a professional baseball game? No, I don't care about baseball, but we'll go on the date. And so we went to Atlanta Braves, and when I pulled up to his house, he was like washing dishes, didn't answer the door, just kind of yelled, come in. Okay, like I'm supposed to be here, right? And we went to the game, and somewhere around like third, fourth inning, I would think. Not too close to beginning, more halfway, I guess. It started sprinkling, and he looked at me and goes, I'm gonna go get cover. And I go, are you serious? It's barely sprinkling. And I looked back on the field, and then I looked back, and he was gone. Completely gone. I'm looking around. He had left me there.
No, that's horrible.
Oh my
What
goodness.
the heck? So I jumped in the row behind me and ended up having fun with the people back there. Ubered home and.
That is so random. So random getting left at a Braves game. Like,
I know. And I'm sitting there like, wow. I didn't even think I said anything. Like, okay, whatever.
oh my goodness. I love it. I appreciate both of your stories. And I think it speaks to sometimes odd things happen, right? Like this
It's
isn't
weird.
Yeah. Yeah. People are. Okay. So I want to wrap us up, and I want to just really say how grateful I am to both of you and to Sydney, who is on too. Lacey, it's always a pleasure getting to talk to you. I'm going to miss you, but I hope that we can stay in touch at least through things like this.
Absolutely.
It's been so nice to meet you today. I know that Jesse at Shop Repurpose connected us. Shop Repurpose is one of our sponsors and was really part of the motivation to create the Tuesday Talks with Ann to talk about women's issues and what's on women's minds right now, right? And so I'm so grateful to have this opportunity this month just to bring women's stuff forward and to tell real stories about what's on our minds and our hearts and keep us well, right? And on our bad days, we're allowed to have bad days too. We're allowed to not feel good. So again, I really appreciate you ladies. NAMI New York State appreciates you. And so thank you for joining us tonight. And for everybody who's come on the live, we appreciate you too. We will be posting the video and the link. We'll send it out to you guys, okay?
Thank
see you.
you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.